Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD StarCraft and I am here to bring you guys another professional StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm game, and today we'll be featuring none other than WhiteRa once again. He's making another cameo appearance on my YouTube channel, and you know what, he just released his Heart of the Swarm Special Tactics 2.0, and I thought what a better way to go ahead and cast more StarCraft 2 games than to have WhiteRa as the featured player, because let's be honest, I could cast myself playing, you know, it could be some, you know, kind of fun, semi-sucky Masters games, or we could be watching WhiteRa, and I think most of us would agree that WhiteRa would be much funner to watch than myself. So let's go ahead and do WhiteRa here. He's the blue Protoss in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, and over at the top left-hand corner, we do have the red Terran player. His name is Isochron, and so it will be a Protoss versus Terran here. Looks like Isochron also a little bit starstruck with the fantastic appearance of WhiteRa here, as we all should be. Man, I'm fan-dazzled by his very presence. And this is going to be a PvT, which is a little bit of a special treat, because we haven't really been able to see much Protoss versus Terran here from WhiteRa. We've actually been only watching PvZs as of lately. So this is a little bit of a special treat. I'd like to see how WhiteRa reacts in Heart of the Swarm to some of the new units. Namely, one of the most important factors here is the newest addition to the Terran race, that is the Warhound. In fact, one of the most popular things that Terran players have been using lately is something called the Warhound Marine Push. And I've actually been watching Thorzane. He's been streaming like 24 hours a day straight. And all he's been doing really is just making a bunch of Warhounds with Marines and then just pushing the Protoss player, and it's been very difficult for Protoss to stop it. And in fact, I think there's two units here in the community that, well, there's two units in HOTS that the community has been hotly debating. And those two are the Swarm Host and, of course, the Warhound. Now, Blizzard has actually addressed these issues in a very recent patch. They just released, I think yesterday, they nerfed the Swarm Host. Their Locusts now only do 14 damage rather than 16, so that is essentially like taking away a missile attack upgrade from the Locusts. Pretty big nerf to the Locusts overall. The Warhounds also have been getting a nerf, and it looks like WhiteRa here is going to get a little happy treat to start this game off. Forces the CC to be placed a little bit further away, which of course will delay the muling, and the you know, the CC will have to lift off and all that good stuff. So good start for WhiteRa there. But as I was saying before, the Warhound has also been nerfed, and now its attack speed has been decreased from 1.3 to 1.7. And when the number goes up, that actually means that their attacks overall get less and less. So a smaller number means more attacks overall. And looks like Isochron here going to go ahead and return the favor and throwing down, what is that, an engineering bay? Yep, throwing down an NG bay just to block this Nexus. But WhiteRa's going to get the kill, so he'll be able to bring his Zealot down there and finish it off, because it doesn't have that much HP in the first place. So as I was saying before, the Warhounds and the Swarm Host have both been nerfed considerably, and you know, Blizzard has been hearing the responses in the community, and they've kind of realized that, hey, these two units are pretty good. If you, like I said, if you watch Thorzane and all the Terrans right now, man, it's all about that Warhound Marine push, and Protoss are having such a hard time holding it off. So they did nerf the Warhound, and I mean, just watch the games I just casted on my channel, TLO versus Pain User, or even WhiteRa versus the Zergs I just casted. It seems like, even to me, you know, the Swarm Host is definitely one of the best Zerg additions, and it's a little bit something to be feared. And so I kind of agree that maybe the Locusts do need a bit of a nerf to their overall damage. And so with those changes, there has also been another nice little modification. The Viper now actually can hit any type of unit. It no longer is restricted to only hitting biological, so you can actually use Binding Cloud now on something like a Colossus, and that's pretty cool because you know, Colossus are known for their extended lances, but now if you throw a Binding Cloud on it, well, that pretty much neuters it into only having one range. So I think the Binding Cloud now can be a very good addition for Zerg players to start utilizing, and I think Blizzard just realized, well, Zerg hasn't been using Binding Cloud that much, so let's go ahead and modify it so it can be more global, more effective. The Sentry is having a bit of a Shadow Priest Mind Flay effect right now, a little melt face thing. All of you guys who played World of Warcraft in the old days will know exactly what I'm talking about. And yes, I did play WoW for some time. Shoot me now, hang me now, get it over with. But yeah, getting back to this game at hand, man, it is a PvT. And we will just have to see what happens with WhiteRa here. How will he kind of adapt to the new units? Notice, you know, he's got a Mothership Core out, but he didn't go quick Stargate. And, you know, to be quite honest with you guys, I don't really feel like opening up a quick Stargate to get that Oracle out. Overall, I'm not sure if it's worth it because it does leave you extremely vulnerable, especially in the case of PvT, if the Terran player goes for something like a Warhound Marine timing, a la what Thorazine has been doing all over the place right now. In fact, if Thorazine keeps using Warhounds like this, we might have to change his name to something like Warhound Zane, because he is not using Thors anymore, man. He is all about the Warhounds. So getting back to what I was saying before, I don't think it's very effective now for Protoss to open up a quick Stargate against Terran because of the threat of the Warhound. And so we can see that WhiteRa is sticking to more of a primary gateway robo-type facilities, whereas Isochron here has added on Warhounds, a couple of Hellions, and he's got Medivacs. I wonder if he's going to go ahead and try to load up some of his Warhounds into his Medivacs and maybe do a couple of Warhound drops. Their Haywire ability is actually insanely good, and actually note the weapon speed, I just highlighted it there, is 1.3 for the Warhounds. So this is pre-nerf because of course the patch just came out yesterday, and this replay pack probably consolidates a couple of days of games. So, alright, so this is pre-nerf, which means WhiteRa will have his hands full dealing with the very buff and very hard to deal with Warhounds right now. In fact, if you guys caught that HOTS game I did on Ladder, I had a huge army of Stalkers, and then I lost them all to Warhounds. That was totally devastating because that should not happen, but it did. And yeah, I was very sad when that happened. So that's one thing that WhiteRa hopefully won't fall into the same trap that I fell into with those very high DPS, very heavy tanky new mechanical units available to Terran. Now, what is WhiteRa going to do? It looks like he's going for Colossus with support bay here. He's also adding on the third Nexus, and there is a medevac that just came in, but easily deflected by the Stalker and Sentries on the side, and so those Hellions will not be able to get in there, but you know what? There wasn't really any probes at the third to roast up anyways, and of course they won't be able to get into the main at this point either, but there is a move out by Isochron here, and he's coming in with a couple of Hellions and Warhounds across the middle of the map. The medevac has retreated over to the Xel'Naga Tower. And it does look like WhiteRa's got a pylon up at the 12 o'clock position. That is actually a really good spot for a pylon because it can catch impending drops that take the northern route. And of course, as Protoss, you want to have pylons everywhere. It's a great thing to have because you can warp in all over the place. And like I said before, it can catch impending dropships. So that's a very good position for WhiteRa to have a pylon at. He's also got an observer here detecting this army, moving out with his first Colossus and some of his units underneath. But there is a lot of Warhounds there. Now WhiteRa getting a little dangerous with this Mothership Core, man. That is expensive stuff. But of course, there's nothing here that Isochron has that can actually hit air. And one of the fallacies of going mech is their lack of anti-air. Yeah, sure, they still have the Thor, but it's nothing like the Goliath, you know, from Brood War. So right now, of course, there's no Thor out on the field. And if WhiteRa brings this Mothership Core out, he can actually purify these forces and push them away. Now, of course, Isochron can just pull out. He doesn't need to actually stay and fight. But it looks like the Mothership Core is going to purify now, gaining the new Rasengan, Shuriken Rasengan ability. Kind of reminds me of Naruto's new ability that he learned. And it looks like Isochron is just going to go ahead and pull away a little bit. And WhiteRa just bringing this Mothership Core up to the north a bit, but there is a Banshee coming around the top right-hand side of the map. One of the pylons is going to be scouted by a Warhound. And as this Banshee makes its way into the map, WhiteRa should be okay. He's already got an observer on the field. These Banshees are loaded with cloak, so they can come in here and cloak up if they need to. There's also a photon cannon there. And Isochron's just going to come around the backhand side and try to get a couple of probe kills. It looks like he's going to get 1, 2, maybe 3. Nothing too serious yet. WhiteRa just taking some superficial damage. He should bring this observer back. Now that the Banshee has cloaked, I'm surprised he hasn't yet. But WhiteRa's got probes to spare. He's at 69 over 54, so he can afford to lose a few. But it's always best not to. He's actually going to now power up his gateway grid with more pylons. He had an Artosis pylon going on there for a second. And now he's losing more probes than he should be. Where is that Observer? He's actually chrono boosting another Observer out of the Robo Bay, but this Banshee is getting way more kills than it should. And very un-WhiteRa-esque. Maybe he just totally forgot about that Observer in the middle of the map. But now warping in Stalkers as his new Observer comes in. And the Banshee actually is going to lose Cloak Energy and going to be pushed away to the bottom right-hand corner. Will it live? Oh! As its last dying breath gets out a halo of rockets. One Warhound going on a scouting patrol over to the top right-hand corner of the map. One cool thing about the Warhound, and if you guys haven't noticed, they actually have a melee attack, kind of like what the Hydras have. They have a melee attack up close that kind of bash their shield on the enemy unit. Still does the same amount of damage, but it's a cool little new feature. And interesting to note here, Isochron is making Widow Mines. I feel like, in general right now, I've been talking to a lot of Terran players, they feel like the Widow Mine is a very expensive unit to have on the field. Hold that thought, those Stalkers just totally got revenge for all the Protoss Stalkers that have ever died to Warhounds. Those Stalkers completely jumped that Warhound, and you know, they wanted his lunch money, but he didn't have any money, so they just killed him. And now it looks like these Stalkers are out for more vengeance. Some Zealots warping over to the north-hand side where that pylon was, but there's Battle Hellions here. Zealots already having problems with fire, but now they're dealing with cone fire coming out of the Battle Hellion. Very hard to deal with. And going back to what I was saying before, the Widow Mines, it's a hard unit to use, I feel like. A lot of Terran players say now that it costs 2 supply, and since it costs 2 supply, it's such a hard unit to use to incorporate into your army because it sucks up a lot of your total supply count. And so a lot of Terrans have been shying away from using the Widow Mine in an actual competitive game of StarCraft 2. So this is already very intriguing. How is Isochron going to incorporate Widow Mine usage against WhiteRa? You know, given that WhiteRa has an Observer with his army, and holy cow, gateways like crazy, WhiteRa. That is a lot of gateways. WhiteRa is officially now playing NR20 No Rush Max to the maximum gateway zero clutter mode, and looks like these Marines going into the wrong neighborhood, going to get sniped out by those Stalkers. Those Stalkers are all over the map looking for lunch money, man. And it looks like a couple of Stalkers down here. Gonna be able to snipe out a Battle Hellion, but with the Widow Mines there, I think Isochron's got a pretty good location. And notice he is making a Raven right now on the production tab. That's not a bad idea, given that he sees all these Stalkers. PDD can be great against that, and the Raven can actually be used to pick off the Observer as well, if he can get some type of anti-air unit like a Viking, and he's also making Vikings. So all of this actually comes together and makes a lot of sense, and is he really getting Yamato Cannon? That is the Yamato Cannon upgrade if I'm not mistaken. He's also getting Seeker Missile upgrade as well. Now this game is just getting weird. I have not seen Seeker Missiles used against Protoss before, at least not since beta of Wings of Liberty, so this is going to be weird. And also the Yamato Cannon. Now battle cruisers actually have a bit of a buff in Heart of the Swarm. They do more damage to ground units now. They do 10 with their air-to-surface missiles, and hold that thought, WhiteRa coming in here has an Observer with his army, so he's in no danger of getting hit by Widow Mines, but it looks like it's just a diversion for him to get his DTs into the mineral line with that Warp Prism. And these DTs are going to come up against a bunch of Battle Hellions. Oh my goodness, that was not even a fight. And now it looks like WhiteRa got some more DTs and Zealots in here. You will get the Armory, canceling one of the upgrades, but these Hellions are all over the place, and it looks like WhiteRa with his Warp Prism, and it has Warp Prism speed, is going to quickly maneuver his way down to the natural and hack and slash some more SCVs. He's getting up there now. 31 SCVs killed, and the Terran player needs to defend his base. He's losing a lot of workers due to these DTs. Those are heroic DTs. And that Warp Prism actually got away at the very last second. 42 SCVs killed this game already. And now it's a WhiteRa at 93 probes and the Terran player at a piffling 37. That does not bode well for the red Terran player at all, especially if he's trying to afford battle cruisers at this point in the game. His Widow Mines still haven't really been all that useful this game as far as I can see. And it looks like Isochron's going to load up Widow Mines into a medevac. But WhiteRa saw that with the Observer, and if WhiteRa was keen, if he was paying attention, then he should be all prepared for this Widow Mine drop. And looks like there's a pylon here as well, so this is going to be double sniffed out by WhiteRa, and he's even got photon cannons inside of his base. So I find it very unlikely that these Widow Mines will be able to do any damage because they require a 4-second burrow time. That Zealot running to the top right-hand corner, looking over the horizon. I see it! I see it! And reports back home, and now 3 Stalkers called in, and that medevac never arrived at its destination. You're gonna have to send the air crash investigation team to find out what happened there, and WhiteRa moving in with the Stalkers, and the Observer picks out a bunch of Widow Mines, and this game is looking increasingly bad for the Terran player Isochron. WhiteRa might just be a little too awesome for us to handle, guys. And he's dropping in more Zealots now, trying to get that Speed Warp Prism into the main. Special Tactics 2.0 from WhiteRa. And it looks like that Warp Prism did die, but these Zealots not finding much of a population of SCVs to kill, and that's kind of because Terran really doesn't have that much SCVs. So those Zealots are going to go down. They really didn't do much. Most of the SCV concentration here is in the main base and the natural expansion. The third now just getting populated with a few mules. And I think Isochron now is going to have to rely heavily on his battlecruisers. And, you know, like I said before, BCs do have a bit of a buff now. They do more damage to ground units, which is absolutely huge. It actually kind of returns them a little bit to what they did in the beta. There you guys can see ATS laser battery doing 10. And 1 Warp Prism is going to die. That's good for Isochron. Couldn't handle those Warp Prism drops anymore. But WhiteRa is coming in with a big army. And Isochron could be in a lot of trouble here, ladies and gentlemen. He needs his PCs right now. He needs to convert his Hellions into battle mode as well. And not too sure why he didn't do that. These Colossus, Archons, and Stalkers are just ripping through everything. And here comes the battlecruisers. So they're going to get a Yamato cannon. And they're charging up for a Yamato on the Archon. But the Archon just too awesome with too much energy and shields. Just drinking Red Bull all day and just kind of let that Yamato cannon glance off of its shields. And now WhiteRa is going to steamroll through the third. Another BC is there, but it should die to those Stalkers as WhiteRa brings in all of his forces around into the natural ramp. And all those SCVs trying to repair for that last BC to come out, but I think Isochron might have bit off a little bit more than he can chew. And WhiteRa really not using too much of the new Heart of the Storm units except for the Mothership Core. Forces the GG here. And to be honest, I think the overall consensus is Protoss players are having a lot of problems utilizing the new units. I mean, the Mothership Core could have used a recall at some point in this game. It did have a lot of energy saved up, and it never really needed to move anywhere out of the middle of the map. There was never ever a threat of anti-air. So if WhiteRa had gotten into a sticky situation, he could have just recalled his whole army out of there, and he would have been totally fine. But a good game by WhiteRa, and you know, I really didn't see how those Widow Mines really helped out all that much in this game. And the unstable payload, blast radius to an unstable payload. All right, anyways, the caption there is kind of funny. But yeah, those Widow Mines, I guess it kind of hit the Stalkers there a little bit. But to me, it really seems like if the Widow Mine is going to cost 2 supply, that's just way too expensive for a Terran player to be able to efficiently incorporate into his army on a continual basis. You know, you might see it against something expensive like Ultralisks, but against a ranged army like Colossus, Stalkers, and whatnot, it's very hard to get the Widow Mines into their full effect. And so I think it kind of hurt. It kind of hurt Isochron a little bit, and despite him going for a unique strategy of, you know, Warhound, Widow Mine into BCs, it never quite fully reached his potential because WhiteRa is WhiteRa. Anyways, guys, with that, I'm going to go ahead and cast some more WhiteRa games from this replay pack, but before I go, I just wanted to let you guys know we are going to be doing a HOTS beta tournament, myself and Ping User. That is going to be this Tuesday. I'm going to have a video coming up very soon, probably tomorrow, detailing information on how you guys can tune in. Just be on the lookout for that, because this is going to be an amazing tournament. We have WhiteRa confirmed, we have Suppy confirmed, Thorzane, DeMuslim, a bunch of very good players in the StarCraft 2 community, so be on the lookout for that. I'll have an announcement video. But for now, this is HD StarCraft, signing out.